Well, hello and welcome to another video by Financial Learning. On today's video, we're going to take a look at the Bitcoin mining stock sector. We're going to look at that ranking by short interest percent. We're also going to take a look at the sector as a whole to see how much they are being shorted. So without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, starting at the bottom of our list, this is number 14. This is BitFUFU. That is ticker symbol FUFU. That a short interest percent of free float at 1.5%. And recall that this information at the top ribbon here, this is going to be for that Thursday trading session. We're going to take a look at the live short interest data for all of these companies, and that is going to be the estimated information for the Friday session. So jumping back up to this ribbon here, if you look back 7 days, you can see I have the graph set to that scale. They had a short interest percent at 1.67. So there has been a little bit of a drop for BitFUFU in terms of short interest percent. Looking at the days to cover, it's sitting at 1.52 days, and the utilization sitting at 21.22%. And recall, utilization is going to be the number of shares sold short divided by the number of shares on loan. Looking at that short score, it is sitting at 52.21. And looking at that live short interest data as of the Friday session, they're sitting at 1.5%. And that is a slight drop. We know it's a slight drop just by looking at the live short interest shares. It is slightly less compared to that Thursday trading period. So we went ahead and ranked this one with a red. All right, jumping over to the interactive broker shorts availability, we're going to take a look at the number of shares available as well as the cost to borrow. And this is as of the last date of recording. You can see here there was only 25,000 shares available at a cost to borrow of 27.69%. All right, looking at number 13 on our list, this is Cango. That is ticker symbol CANG. They had a short interest percent of free float at 2.25%. Looking back 7 days prior, was sitting at 2.3%. So just a small drop in short interest percent for Cango. Looking at days to cover, they're sitting at 1.56 days, and the utilization is at 32.92%, with a short score of 46.41. Looking at the live short interest data, again, this is as of the Friday trading session, that a short interest percent of free float at 2.27%. That is a slight increase compared to that Thursday trading session. And looking at the interactive broker short availability, they had a total of 95,000 shares available at a cost to borrow of 0.77%. All right, coming in at number 12 on our list, this is HIVE Digital Technologies. That is ticker symbol HIVE. They had a short interest percent of free float at 3.51%. Looking back 7 days, it was 3.64%. So a slight drop for HIVE. Looking at the days to cover, it's at 0.57 days, and the utilization percent is sitting at 20.85. The short score is at 39.67. Looking at the live short interest data as of that Friday trading period, it is sitting at 3.41% for that short interest percent of free float. And that is a slight decrease compared to that Thursday trading session. And looking at the interactive broker short availability, they had a total amount of shares available of 2.9 million with a cost to borrow at 1.42%. All right, coming in at number 11 on our list, this is Iris Energy. That is ticker symbol IREN. They had a short interest percent of free float of 7.54%. Taking a look 7 days prior, it was at 7.04%. So a slight increase in short interest percent for IREN. Looking at the days to cover, they're at 0.87 days, and the utilization sitting at 67.19%. The short score for IREN is at 59.11. Taking a look down at the bottom right, you can see the live short interest data for IREN. It is sitting at 7.58%. That is, again, a slight increase compared to the Thursday trading session. And taking a look at the interactive broker short availability, as of last reporting, they had a total of 4.8 million shares available with a cost to borrow of 0.47%. All right, coming in at number 10 on our list, this is CIFR Mining. Their ticker symbol is CIFR. They had a short interest percent of free float at 9.46%. Taking a look 7 days prior, it was at 9.41%. So a slight increase for CIFR. Looking at the days to cover, they're currently at 2.18 days, and the utilization sitting at just 28.37%. Short score is at 56.51. Looking down at the live short interest data for CIFR, this is as of that Friday trading session, they're at 9.39%. That is a slight decrease from that Thursday trading period. And looking at the interactive brokers, short availability, last reporting, shares available at 3.9 million with a cost to borrow of 0.41%. All right, coming in at number 9 on our list, this is HUT8, ticker symbol HUT. Looking at their short interest percent of free float, it's currently at 13.65%. Looking 7 days prior, it was at 13.95. So we did have a slight drop in short interest percent compared to that 7-day period prior. Looking at days to cover, it's currently at 1.4 days, and the utilization sitting at 26.7%. Short score is at 57.21. Looking down at the live short interest data for HUT, they currently have short interest percent of free float as of the Friday session sitting at 13.63%. So that is a slight decrease in short interest percent. And looking at the interactive brokers, short availability, last reporting that a total shares available at 1.4 million with a cost to borrow of 0.63%. Coming in at number 8 on our list, this is Bitfarms, that is ticker symbol BITF, that is short interest percent of free float at 15.37%. Looking back 7 days prior was at 15.56, so a slight decrease in short interest percent for Bitfarms. Looking at the days to cover, currently at 1.26 days, and the utilization sitting at a very high 85.82%. Short score is at 71.06. Looking at that live short interest data as of that Friday trading session, the short interest percent of free float is sitting at 15.36%. That is just a slight decrease from that Thursday trading period. And looking at the interactive brokers, short availability, last reporting shares available at 36,000 with a cost to borrow of 5.74%. Coming in at number 7 on our list, this is Core Scientific, that is ticker symbol CORZ. They had a short interest percent of free float at 17.85%. Looking back 7 days prior, it was at 18.73%. So a nice drop in short interest percent for Core Scientific. Looking at the days to cover, it is at 4.08 days. And the utilization is at 32.7%. That gives them a short score of 64.83. Looking at the live short interest data for CORZ, and this is as of that Friday trading session, they have a short percent of free float at 17.71%. Again, that's another drop compared to looking at that Thursday trading period. And looking at the interactive brokers, short availability, last reporting, shares available was greater than 10 million with a cost to borrow at 0.4%. Coming in at number 6 on our list, this is Riot Platforms, that is ticker symbol RIOT. They had a short percent interest of free float at 20.65%. Looking back 7 days prior, they were at 20.43%, so a slight increase for short interest percent for Riot. Looking at the days to cover, they're currently at 1.88 days, and the utilization sitting at 42.56%. The short score for Riot is at 65.92. Looking at the live short interest data for Riot, and this is as of that Friday trading session, their live short interest percent of free float is at 21.02%. That again is another increase for Riot in terms of their short interest percent. And finally, looking at the interactive brokers, short availability for Riot, their last reported shares available was at 1.3 million, and the cost to borrow was at 0.46%. All right, rounding at the bottom of our top 5 Bitcoin mining stocks when it comes to that short interest percent of free float is TeraWulf. That is ticker symbol WULF. They had a short interest percent of free float of 22.4%. Looking back 7 days prior, they were at just 22.44%. So a slight reduction in short interest percent for TeraWulf looking back 1 week prior. Looking at days to cover, they're at 2.11 days, and the utilization is at 56.61%. Their short score came out at 67.77. Jumping into Friday's trading session, their live short interest data, this is that percent of free float, is at 22.67%. So that is actually a slight increase compared to that Thursday trading session. And looking at the interactive broker short availability, they had last reported shares available at 3.4 million with a cost to borrow of 0.45%. And coming in at number 4 on our list, this is Bit Digital, that is ticker symbol BTBT. They had a short interest percent of free float at 25.02%. Looking back 7 days prior, it was at 24.9%, so a slight increase in short interest percent. Looking at days to cover, currently at 1.91 days, and the utilization coming in at a high 84.16%. Their short score sitting at 69.69. Looking at the live short interest data as of that Friday trading session, their short interest percent of free float was sitting at 25.06%. That is just a slight increase in short interest percent compared to that Thursday trading period. And taking a look at the Interactive Broker short availability, last reported shares available sitting at 250,000 with a cost to borrow of 0.48%. And coming at number 3 on our list, this is CleanSpark. That is ticker symbol CLSK. They had a short interest percent of free float at 24.71%. Looking back 7 days prior was at 24.94%. So a slight decrease in short interest percent of free float. Looking at the days to cover, it is currently at 2.01 days. The utilization percent sitting at 80.84. Their short score comes out at 70.7. Looking at the live short interest percent of free float, and this is as of that Friday trading period, is currently sitting at 25.62%. That is a slight increase in shares shorted for CleanSpark. And taking a look down at the Interactive Brokers short availability, you can see last reported shares available at 650,000 with cost to borrow at 0.81%. Coming in at number 2 on our list, this is Mara Holdings. That is ticker symbol MARA. They had a short interest percent of free float at 26.18%. Looking back 7 days prior was at 26.42%. So a slight decrease in short interest percent from 1 week prior. Looking at the days to cover, it is at 1.36 days. Moving over to utilization is currently at 72.88%. The short score comes out at 69.85. Looking at the live short interest data again for that Friday trading session, live short interest percent of free float currently sitting at 25.67%. So that is a decrease in short interest percent compared to that Thursday trading session. And looking at the Interactive Broker short availability, last reported shares available at 600,000 with a cost to borrow of 0.45%. All right, coming in at number 1 on our list for the second week in a row, this is BTDR. That is ticker symbol BTDR. They had a short interest percent of free float at 31.7%. Looking back 7 days prior, it stayed the same at a 31.7%. Looking at days to cover, it is at 1.65 days, and the utilization is still, as of 1 week prior, still at 100%. Looking at the short score, it's at 70.55. Looking down at short interest data, as of that Friday trading session, again, still sitting at 31.7%. So BitDeer has been staying locked in with this 100% utilization. You can see there was a little bit of a dip midweek for BitDeer's utilization. However, they did recoup that and it stayed at 100% for both Thursday and Friday. All right. And looking at Interactive Brokers short availability, last reported shares available at 3.2 million with a cost to borrow at 1.79%. All right, looking at this last slide here, this is going to be all 14 of these companies as a sector. We're going to break down a couple of key metrics, one of which is going to be the total short value, and then we're also going to look at the short percent. Now, when you see the different shades, whether it be red, green, or no shade at all, that has to do with the short interest percent for each of these companies. The shade of red is going to be for the companies where the shares were returned. So there's less shares being shorted compared to the previous trading day. And then the ones in green, of course, are going to have an increase in number of shares being shorted. So that short interest percent is going to be going up. And then the one company down there, BitDeer, we already talked about this. They had a flat short interest percent. So there's no green or red, of course, for that company. But breaking it down, looking at all 14 companies as a whole, total number of shares being shorted is 484,926,520. Now, looking at the last traded price of each of these stocks, we can look at what that comes out to for a short value. And that short value is at $5.5 billion. And also, we can look at the short interest percent of the free float for this entire sector. And that comes out at 19.74%. And taking a look at the bottom right, that is going to be the free float value for this entire Bitcoin mining sector. It comes out at 27,950,952,600. So that's a rather large amount of money that's being invested into this Bitcoin mining sector. All right, and that wraps it up for me, folks. I hope you enjoyed this quick little update on the short score rankings for these 14 companies. If you did, consider giving the video a like. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Drop me a comment. What do you think about the short interest percent of free float for all these companies? Do you think it's driving the value of the companies in terms of share price? Do you think it actually has nothing to do at all with what's going on with the price action? Do you think it just relies solely on the price of Bitcoin? And with all that said, I hope you all have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you on the next one.